Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, text 3. Arurukshor muneryogam karma karanamuchyate yogarudhasya tasyaiva shamah karanamuchyate. Arurukshoh, who has just begun yoga. Muneh, of the sage. Yogam, the eightfold yoga system. Karma, work. Karanam, the means. Uchyate, is said to be. Yoga, eightfold yoga. Arudhasya, of one who has attained. Tasya, his. Eva, certainly. Shamaha, cessation of all material activities. Karanam, the means. Uchyate, is said to be. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: for one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Please repeat: for one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Purport: the process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga. It may be compared to a ladder for attaining the topmost spiritual realization. This ladder begins from the lowest material condition of the living entity and rises up to perfect self-realization in pure spiritual life. According to various elevations, different parts of the ladder are known by different names. But all in all, the complete ladder is called yoga and may be divided into three parts, namely Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. The beginning of the ladder is called Yogarurukshu stage, and the highest rung is called Yoga Rudha. Concerning the eightfold yoga system, attempts in the beginning to enter into meditation through regulative principles of life and practice of different sitting postures, which are more or less bodily exercises, are considered fruitive material activities. All such activities lead to achieving perfect mental equilibrium to control the senses. When one is accomplished in the practice of meditation, he ceases all disturbing mental activities. A Krishna conscious person, however, is situated from the beginning on the platform of meditation because he always thinks of Krishna. And being constantly engaged in the service of Krishna, he is considered to have ceased all material activities. So, if you see the verse before this, we have done this on Wednesday online. So the verse is Yam sanyasamiti prahur yogam tam vidhi pandava nahya sanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. What is called renunciation you should know to be the same as yoga or linking oneself with the Supreme, O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. So anyway, that was the background of this verse. So in the beginning of the yoga system, actually here very nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada in the purport, that yoga is like a ladder. So a ladder has many steps and yoga also has many steps. So the whole point of yoga is to, just as a ladder, the whole point of the ladder is to reach from like ground level to the topmost level. But if I stand somewhere in the midway and I say I have reached my destination, that is foolishness. If I am standing on a ladder and then it's midway, I haven't reached the top. So that is a very stupid thing to do. So similarly, yoga has taken on many names, and the names come from the different stages or the different steps on the ladder of yoga. So ultimately, yoga is to connect us with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna is therefore called Yogeshwara. Yogeshwar means the master of all yogic systems. So he is the master of all mystic powers. And we have to connect with him. That is actual yoga. Yoga means connection. Now, there is Karma Yoga, there is Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. Actually, if you see the chapter names of the Bhagavad Gita, all the 18 chapters are mentioned as yoga. Purushottam Yoga, all yoga, all 18 chapters. So, why? Because this is the science of yoga. Bhagavad Gita is the science of yoga. And yoga means, Krishna actually clarifies. If we haven't understood by reading the Bhagavad Gita, why there are so many yogic systems, what yoga should we follow? So Krishna clarifies that in the 18th chapter. (66th verse) Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So he is emphatically telling here that abandon all varieties of dharma and just surrender unto me, because that is actually the essence of following everything, all these rules and regulations. But if we get stuck in the rules and regulations and not reaching the aim, then we have missed the point. Like many a time, especially in Hindu culture, there are so many rules. Oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. Oh, that time you cannot do this time you cannot do that. So many things are there. They are bona fide rules. But all of those rules, not all are bona fide by the way. Nowadays so many introductions have been done just to clarify that. But there are many such rules in the Vedic literature. But it is said in the Padma Puran, Smartavya Satatam Vishnur Vismartavyo Najatuchit. That the whole point of following all these do's and don'ts is to reach to the stage where we always remember Krishna and never forget him. That is the stage one should reach to. All these rules should lead us to that. But sometimes, if we get stuck with the details of the rule, but we don't understand the actual purpose of the rule, that is called Niyama Agraha. Niyama Agraha means too much acceptance of the rule without understanding the aim. So, for example, what is a good example? Yeah, this is actually applicable for devotees who are following Krishna consciousness principles. If somebody in the family passes away, usually there is a period of contamination where one is not advised to, go to the temple or do something like that. So for some it is 10 days, for some it is 15 days, for some it is 30 days, depending on the Varna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So these are there, but why they are there and what is the actual reason and why do we follow? So there is a state of contaminated consciousness in the family members. First of all, they are too much afflicted with materialistic thoughts of their family members. So when we come to Krishna, we have to serve him with complete detachment. So that attachment increases in those, just when somebody passes away and one is a little disturbed. and one is advised to hear this Bhagavad Gita or read Bhagavad Gita. In fact, in North India, I don't know about South, but in North India they have the Gita Path. When somebody passes away, they have Gita Path. But Gita Path is not only to be heard when when somebody passes away. When we are alive and well, we should listen to the Bhagavad Gita. Then when somebody, because everybody has to pass away, right? Everybody has to die. So when something like that happens, one is not overly disturbed. There is a point, and this part here. Chapter 2, text 13. This is a very common verse of Bhagavad Gita. In fact, the fundamentals start here with this verse. 2.13 Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuhyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. How can one be sober in the first place? That means with knowledge only we can become sober. We cannot become sober without knowledge. In ignorance we can't. According to the Varna, because supposedly Brahmanas, they are supposed to be enlightened in this knowledge, and therefore their contamination period is lesser. And Kshatriya, Vaishya 15 and then Shudra 13. So in this way it is there. But a Vaishnava, he, suppose like here we have to do service. So even if somebody has passed away or whatever it is, of course, if it is possible, if there is other people, well and good. But if not, we have to do. The whole point is not to forget Krishna. And because when somebody passes away, their consciousness is so disturbed. The 10th offense in chanting the holy name is to maintain material attachments despite understanding so many instructions on this matter. And that offense becomes very prominent when something untoward happens. So these things are there. And also, for example, Srila Prabhupada, sannyasi, and according to the rules, sannyasi cannot cross the ocean. He should not cross the ocean. But Srila Prabhupada nicely crossed the ocean. It's like halfway across the world, across the Atlantic. And of course, after that, many times he circled the globe. He is not allowed to actually take conveyances, that means any cars or any vehicles. He has to travel on foot. That is the rule for a sannyasi. But Srila Prabhupada used all these things. So did he break the rules? See, these rules are there for people. Because if a sannyasi crosses the ocean, because people across the ocean, they are not very cultured, and he may become influenced by that culture and he may fall down. He may break his vow of sannyas. So to protect him from that, these rules are given. But for a person who is going to change them to Krishna consciousness, he is above this. So for preaching purposes, it is allowed. But if I am just going there for not preaching, then there is no need to go. So these things are there. So we need to understand the purpose behind these rules. Oh, sannyasi cannot go, you should not go. And how the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction will come true, that Prithvite acha jata nagradigram sarvatra prachara hoiva mor nam. He said, in all the towns and villages that exist on the planet, this Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be chanted. How is it going to come true if there is no travel? Now with these restrictions on travel, we are trying to do this online, live streams, but still nothing can replace a temple, an association of devotees, where one can come and engage in service, engage with the devotees. Brick and mortar places must be there. Because that's where we learn. Online, how much we can learn? Yeah, it's good to hear, but then practically I have to apply it now, whatever I have heard. And at home, I will do so many mistakes. I don't even know what mistakes I am doing. So, how will I be corrected? How will I be guided? Association is very important. I mean, it's the something is better than nothing. That's why we have these online things, that we are providing and sharing in that way, since the technology is there. But ideally, you should have a temple and association of devotees. Morning and evening, they should come and associate and hear the pastimes, Sankirtan, Krishna Prasadam, and field work of preaching, book distribution. All these things are necessary. So, in this way, there are so many rules, but we have to understand the aim of the rule. So, this is called proper following of niyama. Niyama agraha means not following the rules strictly. Niyama agraha means following the rules so strictly that we have come far away from the aim of the rule. As they say, law and the spirit of the law. Following the law but forgetting the spirit of the law. So, that is condemned. So, anyway, these things are there. So, now a sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So, one has to become sober, and for that knowledge is required. And this yoga system is meant to gradually elevate us in that knowledge. We have to come from complete material consciousness to climb to the highest stage, which is Krishna consciousness. And that is Bhakti Yoga. The highest rung, highest step on that ladder is Bhakti Yoga. So we have to reach that. So here it is said, Arurukshor Muner Yogam Karma Karanam Uchyate. So in the beginning, the means of advancement in this ladder of yoga is said to be karma, work. And in the end, one who has attained the perfection, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means of perfection. So what does this mean? In the beginning, even in the Ashtanga yoga system, there are yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. So samadhi is the stage where one is completely absorbed in the Supreme Lord. But until then, there are so many activities. Asana, pranayama, so many. Niyama, yama, all the yama means do's, niyama means don'ts. Rules and regulations, do's and don'ts. So all these things are there. And especially, like even in our present condition, neophyte. What is a neophyte? The translation it is said here, neophyte. Arurukshoh muneh means he is a neophyte. Neophyte is a beginner in this process of yoga. A beginner is called a neophyte, a novice. So for a novice, karma karanam uchyate. You mean to say that the one who is perfect, he doesn't need to do anything? No. Material activities need to be stopped. So in the beginning, people may still be involved in material activities. So it is not advisable to stop them completely, because they have not had enough understanding and experience in devotional activities. While they are engaged in material activities, it is not advisable for them to stop immediately. Continue with their work. Karma karanam uchyate. But at the same time, there has to be regulation. So some of the fruits, give it to Krishna, fruit of the work, and spend some time with the devotees, chanting, hearing, reading, engaging in service in this way. But regulated work. That's why our varnashram system, the ashram system is there. Brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyas. So grahastha ashram, for example, there are so many activities pertaining to the body and bodily relations. Whereas in the brahmachari, vanaprastha and sannyas ashram, not so much, almost nil. Sannyas, of course, completely nil. Even brahmachari is also in the Gurukula. So he also doesn't have. Vanaprastha also. Vanaprastha is the stage between grahastha and sannyas. where the husband and wife, they go to pilgrimage and purify their consciousness and get more ready to detach. And then finally when the man is ready, then he will send the wife home to live with the family, and he takes sannyas and never to see his wife again. So this is a progressive stage, progressive improvement in the Krishna consciousness. Now there is Vivaha Yajna, this sacrifice of marriage. So there, in that, what is the principle of marriage? Nowadays it is celebrated as the most important event in one's life. Actually, from Vedic perspective, it is not the most important event. For a woman, yes. Especially for a man, no. Because for the man, the most important, of course, now initiation is there for women also, but the Vedic times, the system was that the man used to get initiated by the spiritual master, and he used to be trained as a brahmachari. And then when he wants to go into married life, then girl is chosen, and for the woman, the husband is the spiritual master, and for the husband, the guru, the actual guru is the spiritual master. So in this way, the family has to be led by the head of the family, the man, and that's the system. The whole point is to elevate everybody spiritually. So even though, like actually, if one is completely self-realized, there is no need of engaging in family life. There is no need of that attachment. There is no need. But because it is difficult in this material world to maintain that standard of purity, so there is allowance. Okay, you can have marriage, and there are activities which, if not careful, can cause serious bondage and never to be able to come out from that. That's why it's called Griham Andhakupam. Household life is Andhakupam. It's like a blind well, like a deep well. When you throw a stone, you'll never hear the sound of it reaching the end. That kind of a life. It's very hard to come out of that. It needs extreme mercy of Krishna to come out. See, first of all, we have to understand, of course, it is scary for householders to think about these things. Separation or sannyas, very scary. But if we see, we are forced to separate anyway. By death, by sannyas, or divorce, whichever way, have to separate. If everything goes good, that's why they say, I think even in Christian marriages, till death do we part. So after that we have to part anyway. So that we have to give up anyway. So either we do with knowledge or we do it in ignorance. Separation we can't avoid. So if we do it in knowledge, it's far less painful, and it actually will elevate one spiritually. And that's why this whole division of ashram is there. So there is allowance. That's why this karma karana muchyate. In the beginning, because eating, mating, sleeping, defending, these are animalistic propensities, common among animals and humans. But in human life, the point is to bring them down to almost nil. We can't bring it completely to nil because the body is there, its demands are there, and especially eating and sleeping has to be done. But mating can be avoided. But not everybody can do. Vast majority cannot. So there is allowance. Okay, marriage. This is karma karana muchyate. But if one is advanced, then shama karana muchyate. Cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. So karma means that is not simply any work and whatever you know. Sanctioned, regulated action. Because even though one may have these propensities of bodily enjoyment, they have to be regulated so that time can be saved for spiritual cultivation. And that is the whole point of the injunctions of the Vedas. So that is what is meant here, karma karanam uchyate. And for the one who is advanced, shama karanam uchyate, cessation of all material activities. That means what? That means his field of activities should be, it's not that he is lazy, he should become lazy and then sit down. No. He should become so busy in spiritual activities that there is no scope for material activities. Activities means not even in thought, to that extent. Not even in thought. So there is this verse. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.50. Nakama karma bijanam yasya cetasi sambhavah Vasudevaika nilayah savai bhagavatottamah. One who has taken exclusive shelter of the Supreme Lord, Vasudeva, becomes free from fruitive activities which are based on material lust. In fact, one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord is freed from even the desire to enjoy material sense gratification. Plans for enjoying sex life, social prestige and money cannot develop within his mind. Thus, he is considered Bhagavatottama, a pure devotee of the Lord on the highest platform. So, this is Yoga Rudha, the perfectional stage of yoga. So, now we are in Yogarurukshu mode, beginner in the Krishna consciousness. So, in this case, we have to be engaged in various activities. Like when Srila Prabhupada went to America, he asked everybody to chant 64 rounds in the beginning. Here itself we are asking people, Prabhu, you start chanting 2, 4 rounds, 6 rounds, something. Prabhupada went to America, not Indians, complete, Americans. He asked them to chant 64 rounds a day. Within one day they came back, not possible, impossible. So then he is reduced to 32. You see how he came from maximum to then we are asking Prabhu chant 1 round, 2 rounds. No, he is 64. So then he said 32. Even that they could not do. And finally he said 16. He said no more concession. But then he filled up the rest of the time with other services. So cessation of all material activities means if you have to chant 64 rounds a day, it takes 7 to 8 hours. Practically half of your waking time. Right? About if you sleep around 6 hours, 18 hours waking hours, and in that 7 to 8 hours chanting. And that kind of focus is actually what is to be done, the real standard. But Srila Prabhupada gave us 1/4 of that. Even that we think, 16 rounds, 2 hours max. So you see, therefore, since we cannot give up shamaha, this cessation of material activities, we cannot do. We cannot sit down in one place and chant. So, what Srila Prabhupada did? Karma karanam uchyate. Okay, you can chant only 16 rounds. Alright. So, we will increase the other gamut of activities. More traveling parties, traveling sankirtans, city to city, town to town. They used to have bus parties and they used to have book distributions, long hours, book distribution, engaging, organizing festivals, increasing the service, increasing the opportunity for service. And in this way, so many activities that the principle has not been changed. The principle of smartavya satatam vishnur vismartavya na jatu chit. Always remember Krishna and never forget him. That principle was not changed, but the rule was adjusted. Instead of 64 rounds, 16 rounds, but the rest of the time engage in these other services. But the point is to always be Krishna conscious. That is the whole point. So, even if chanting was reduced, other activities should be. So that's why karma karanam uchyate. But in the Paramahamsa stage, even in sannyasi, there are 4 stages within sannyasi. Kutichaka, Madhukari or Bahudaka, second stage. Then Parivrajagacharya, and finally Paramahamsa. So these are 4 stages in sannyas itself. So Kutichaka means he has a kutir, a hut, outside the precincts of the village or town or city that he is from. Even when he was a grihastha, wherever he is from, he will go to the outskirts of that and he will have a small cottage and he will practice there. And people will come and because in that same town, people he will know some people. So some known people will come and give him some donations or whatever for his maintenance, like that. He depends like that. As his faith in Krishna increases, he will move away from that dependence on, because if once a sannyasa becomes dependent on some material convenience, then he will fall down. His vows will become not strict. So sannyasi means he must depend on Krishna. So then when he becomes sufficiently advanced, then he will leave that place. And Bahudaka, next stage, or Madhukari. Madhukari means like the honeybee. He will go to the garden and he will take little honey from here, little honey from there, little honey. He doesn't depend on one single flower. He takes from many. So in this way he will go and beg from door to door for his maintenance. Not that he will eat like a big enjoyer. He will just take little bit, like Shukadeva Goswami, Vyasadev's son. He used to go to a house and then he will just take this much milk that would fit in the palm of his hand. When the lady of the house would milk the cow in the morning, he will just wait there and little bit, and then he will drink that much, and that's it. That's for the whole day. And next day again. So within that time when he is waiting, he will preach to the householder there, and that's it. So like that is Madhukar. So just little bit for maintenance, but at the same time preaching and engaging in severe vows. And then there is Parivrajagacharya. Until then there is study and rigorous study of scriptures and chanting, vows, everything has to be increased. And then Parivrajagacharya is when he is sufficiently convinced and when he gets the faith, when the realizations come, then yes, he travels and preaches and makes disciples. Of course, he has to be authorized by his spiritual master to do so. And then he goes and he initiates people. He goes and preaches the message of Krishna consciousness far and wide, as much as his capability allows. Then he will preach and write books and make disciples and train them up to continue the preaching mission. And at the stage where the movement is carried on by his disciples, at that time he will accept the Paramahamsa stage, which is undeviated, complete cessation of all activities. Meditate on the Krishna's pastimes and they shut themselves up completely. No connection with anyone. So these stages are there. So that is the highest stage, Yoga Rudhasya. But until then, our Jnanendriya and Karmendriya have to be completely used. In fact, even in the highest stage, it is not that they stop the activities. Spiritual life is never a stoppage of anything. It is a question of changing the quality of the work. Cessation of all material activities means there is complete involvement in spiritual activities. Whereas in the beginning, one cannot 100% engage in spiritual activities. Therefore, instead of asking them to completely give up their material activities, okay, you do, but regulate them and give something to Krishna. And then start the process of sacrifice. So that is the idea. So that's why these things are given. But this whole Varnashram structure, which is so scientific, to guide people slowly from the materialistic concept of life all the way to the spiritual concept of life. I mean, spiritual involvement in life, complete Krishna consciousness. To take the people through the journey of this Varnashram system was instituted. It is a perfect system actually. Unfortunately, it was misused, abused, and abolished. What was abolished was this birthright caste system, but the caste system according to one's work and one's mentality, that will never change. Even if you take out the names, nomenclature, those things won't change. People who are interested in God consciousness, people who are interested in the scriptural learning, they are called Brahmanas. And people who are by nature administrators and warriors, resourceful and courageous, they are Kshatriyas. And those who have an aptitude for agriculture, cow protection, trade, they are Vaishyas. And those who work for others as employees, that is Shudra. In Kali Yuga, mostly it is Shudra. Our education primes us to become Shudras, employees for someone. So that's why it is said in the Shastra already, it is said, Kalau Shudra Sambhavaha. So in Kali Yuga, everybody will be on the level of Shudra. Even though he may be from Brahmin family, whatever family, mostly it is the work, the way of life is of Shudra. So now we have to, of course, many of us, stuck in the work or whatever it is. So for now, immediately changing anything is not possible. So, start. That is the idea. And we have to do all this whole structure. If it was there, it would have been perfect. But now, since it is not there, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come and he has given a simple system. Whether you are Grihe Thako, Vane Thako, Sada Hari Bole Dako. Whether you are in the house or whether you are in the forest as sannyasi, you chant Hare Krishna. That's it. Sada Hari Bole Dako. And if one does that, the good thing is if one does this, if one engages in Krishna conscious activities, then even though he is in householder life, he will attain the highest success. Sthane sthita shruti katham tanuvan manobir ye praya sujita jitopesata istrilokyam. Even in this material world, even when one is engaged in family life and everything, if he keeps this principle intact, that Sada Hari Bole Dako, Kirtaniya Sada Hari. Kirtanam means singing Hare Krishna is one thing, chanting and glorifying and attending the class, and preaching to others, this is all Kirtan. So, the involvement in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is one has to preach, one has to be in the midst of the preaching movement. Not that only those who are staying in the temple, they have to preach. Prabhu, I work outside, so I don't need to preach. No. Yare dekha tare kaha Krishna upadesh. Whoever we meet, we must talk about Krishna. In order to do that, we must be convinced first. No? In the beginning, devotees are even shy to use chanting bag inside the bus or train. How can we then talk to others about Krishna? To even chant, this is not even talking, just chanting to ourselves. That also already they are shy. Oh, dhoti how to wear? I will wear pant and come. And here I will change. So if we are that much shy, that means it is fully bodily concept. We have to come out of that bodily concept. And only then we can preach. And if we are ourselves not convinced, then how can we convince others? That's why we have to follow first. So we have to become convinced. So that's why we have books. Now we know Kirtaniya Sada Hari, we have to chant. That is the most important thing. But how will the quality of our chanting improve if we don't hear? Actually, one devotee asked Prabhupada, our movement is... actually, one lady was asking Prabhupada. So she said, so chanting is more important or reading the books? So Prabhupada said, how can you chant properly when you don't read? The third offense is to disobey the order of the spiritual master. And the spiritual master has written the book. He is talking to you. And if you don't listen, that is offense to spiritual master. Then your chanting will also go down. And without hearing, how will we keep our conviction? Like this, hiding and doing. Because listening to the worldly opinion of people, we give more importance to that than what Krishna thinks of us. We give importance to what that person is thinking of me across the seat on the MRT this train, rather than what Krishna is thinking about us, sitting in our heart and looking at us. What is this fellow doing? Hiding and chanting my name. So which one we want to do? So whom do we want to please? Nowadays it is a thing that don't care for people's opinion, do what is right. What is that? Do you. They say nowadays, they say do you. Means whatever you are, do it. Don't care about people's opinion. But we can't be like that. Actually, nobody is like that. Although they say like that, the most popular show is these talent shows, where the judges are sitting there. They say don't judge anyone. You should not judge anyone. But the most popular shows are these judge shows, where talent shows are going. What kind of hypocrisy is that? Right? And then one guy will be more critical than others, and some drama will be there in the judges. So people like all this, the judging part. So actually, we cannot be in a position where we cannot be judged by anyone. We should be in a position where we are held accountable. What if one person just likes robbing people? Do you rob people? Is that absolute rubbish, isn't it? Or even worse. So it's just not do you. It's rubbish. There has to be a panel where judges should be there, but the judge should not be an animalistic man. If the judge is on the level of animals, his judgment will be on the level of animals. So the judge should be a proper person. He should be educated in religious principles. That's why in those days, king used to be the judge. He used to be the judge. He used to give out justice. And he was educated, Rajarshi. He used to be educated in Vedic scriptures. And he not only him, he used to have a council of Brahmanas who would advise him and instruct him how to conduct himself. So there is a whole check and balance system. And those Brahmanas cannot be bribed because they don't take a pay from the government. Once you get dependent, how to tell the person who is giving you the salary? You won't be able to tell him. Straightforward manner. So they don't take salary. They don't take anything. That's why they have the power to speak in a straightforward way. There's no strings attached. And that honesty, that arjavam is a Brahmin's quality. And he will live a very simple life. No extravagance. And because of that tapasya, he gets the strength and he can speak. So, this system is very scientific. They should have been there. Again, should have been, would have been, could have been. No time for that. We have a short lifespan. Now at least we have to take up our judge. So our actions should be judged by the spiritual master, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So these should be our judge. And the devotees who follow these principles, they have to be the judge. So Krishna is our judge anyway. Our karma, whatever we are undergoing, is because Krishna is our judge, and we have whatever we have done, we are getting the reactions now, and whatever we do now, we get the reactions later. So anyway, there is a judge. So instead of suffering the consequences, now itself when somebody can be there to counsel us or guide us, that is very helpful. Prevention is better than cure, or rather disaster. So that's why the counsel is required. So we have to have this kind of system. That's why devotee association is very important. And in devotee association we learn what to do, what not to do. Everything will be taught nicely. And when we look at devotees engaging nicely, then we also get inspired. So in that way we also improve, and then that becomes infectious. Then we speak to others. Sometimes we don't know what to speak. The thing is, if we read Prabhupada's books, we will know what to speak. We may make mistakes, but eventually we will learn. But that enthusiasm to speak, that will be there. We have to cultivate that. This is not reserved for the people living in the temple. No, that is not our movement. Our movement is everybody should become preacher. If I don't know how to do it, let me give some book to somebody. Of course, giving a book is easy, but to sell a book, that is more. You have to make the person pay. So that requires convincing also. Because why he will pay, why he will take the money out of his pocket. But the preacher's duty is to make his hand go into the pocket, take out and give the money, and he take the book. So to do that, that's when our speaking, our understanding of the philosophy, because he will ask question, what is there in this book, why should I take it? Then if he says, no, I don't believe all these books, So how to speak to these kind of people? So we will learn. That's why book distribution, we say give the book and Prabhupada will preach. But then to give the book to that person, because when he pays for it, then he pays attention. It is said when in marketing also it is said, when you pay, then you pay attention. But if you don't pay, then don't pay attention. I got it free anyway, just don't value it. But then when you see it there, this I paid some money for that. What is that? Let me see. And then he starts to read. And then he will sometimes have questions, sometimes there will be discussions. In this way there will be, and of course he will get more interest. If he is fortunate enough, he will get more interest. Somehow or other the books will act. Either if he doesn't read, maybe his wife will read, or his child will read, or his parent will read. We never know. Sometimes they buy the book and then they never read it, they collected dust and then they were shifting house or something. They don't know what to do with it. They give to somebody, or put in a library, or put in a temple somewhere. Sometimes, especially here, the Chinese, they do that. They don't like to read, mostly, and they don't like to throw it away. They know it is something spiritual. So what they do? They will personally come and give it back to the temple, or they will send by registered post. Because many years actually we have done this. We used to go house to house, we used to distribute books like that. Go knock door, and when they open door, and then convince them to buy a book. So these we used to do, and on the streets we used to do. Of course, now it's not possible with this state, but here Pavaneshwar Prabhu is also there. He is champion in that. So this going on the streets and meeting anybody and everybody and talking. This is a very great training actually. There we learn. We will know there that how much we don't know. We will come to know how much we don't know when we go there. Because here we think we know. I know something Krishna conscious, I know. When we go there, then we will understand how much we don't know. Then it starts. And actually only then will be able to understand. Then we will pay attention. Because we are always asked to read Prabhupada's books. I just read 2 pages and slept and whatever. But when I am asked questions like that, like people come to argue or the heated argument, or sometimes they ask something which I look like a fool, I was like, what was that? I couldn't answer. I am representing Krishna and I could not answer, what is this? Then I feel bad about it. And those things are good. Because then the strong desire to read Prabhupada's books will come. And it is purifying for us. And then, like that we improve. Field work. So in this way we have to engage ourselves. We are still, with this current situation, we are still thinking like how to even engage. Thinking of plans, like how to make everybody engaged in preaching. So still haven't figured out a way where the same experience like the book distribution on the streets, how can that be replicated for all devotees to participate in, so that get some experience. So that's why it is not ideal. The situation is not ideal, of course, but at least use this time one thing good about material downtime. Now this is a downtime. Like you can't do, like especially last year was, in lockdowns and so much restrictions. I don't know this year where it's heading. Doesn't sound very promising. But these kind of times is an ideal time for increasing our spiritual activity. So when we have not much material things to do, then we can spend that time in spiritual. Don't idle away that time. Just gone for waste. Make the best use of it. We can't change the world situation. What is going on is going on. But what we can do is work on ourselves. Actually, there was a nice quote that was shared by devotees in the recently on the social media and WhatsApp and all that. Prabhupada gave a very nice answer, because one disciple was asking, what will happen to this world in about 50, 60 years, 100 years, where will people go and what will happen, and will there be a war, or what will happen, people, the devotee was asking like this. Prabhupada said, don't worry about the world will go on, nature will take its course. There will be many rascal living entities who will never follow the instruction of Krishna, and nature's course will give whatever they need to get, rewards or punishments or whatever. Now you don't worry about all these things. You are not the manager of this world. You manage your life. So Prabhupada said, you are going to stay here for 50, 60, 70 years and you are going to get out of here, kicked out of here. And before that, make your life successful. You are thinking about saving the world. Save yourself first. So make the best use of the time we have in this world and get out of here. You may say, oh, that is very selfish, not thinking about others. The thing is, just like now the pandemic is there, and there are videos of in India especially now, and people are coming from ordinary fields and they are helping out people, and these kinds of videos are also going around, see, and people commend them, right? Oh, heroes, of the. But actually, the devotee's work is that he is treating a much, much bigger pandemic. This pandemic can kill you once, but the Bhavarog has killed us trillions of times. If a pandemic that can kill us once is very deadly, what do you call a pandemic which can kill us trillions of times? What kind of pandemic is that? It is the mother of all pandemics. So, to treat that, one has to, elevate the soul. And the soul is what needs to be treated. The body you can't, even if you treat it today, tomorrow it will die of another reason. If not for COVID, cancer, organ or cancer, something else, heart attack, whatever. Something will happen and one will have to die. But the thing is, how do we die? How we die is the test. Dying, everybody has to go through. Of course, the soul doesn't die, but this death means this experience where one leaves this body. So that everybody has to go through. But how one does that? Like the one who studies well in the class and the one who does not. Both have to go through the exam. How they go through it is the difference. One will pass, one will fail. So the death is like that. Death is an exam. Oh, you are also dying. You are doing praying on this, and you are also dying. Oh, I am not praying. I am also dying. So what is the difference? Why should I pray? Praying is not to come out of this death, but to not take birth again after this death. That is only possible by serving Krishna and going back to Him. Like the other day, we were doing this episode on Instagram, explaining this YOLO philosophy. YOLO, YOLO. YOLO. You only live once. That is there. You only live once. YOLO. So that is their idea. But our thing is, we are also after YOLO. Conclusion of that video was that we are also after YOLO, but our YOLO is of the soul. The soul only lives one. There is no such thing as birth and death for the soul. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin. But they want this YOLO for the body. Oh, you only live once, and that's a compromise. That's a depressing statement to say that you only live once and you're going to die and finish. So their YOLO is they want to tie it to the body, but our YOLO is to the soul. So if I am the spirit soul, then why do I have to take this repeated birth and death? Why not eternal life, where I don't have to die and live for eternity? That is the point of all spiritual advancement. And that is real help. Whoever helps us in doing that, that person is the real hero. If one helps the body, in the regular course of life, it may be a nice thing to do. It's a pious work, but it's not spiritually, significant work. It's not spiritually significant. It may be pious work, punya, but not spiritually significant. Spiritually significant is what the devotees are engaging in. Now the world is like this, where everybody is already afflicted with this disease. The karma has taken its toll, and everybody is paying the price. If they listen to the devotees, if they listen to Krishna, this wouldn't have happened. They did not listen, and now it is coming back on us. So at this time, what to do? What we can do is, this material world is like that, people won't listen. Okay, then we do our part. We will do our, and whoever we can help spiritually, will help. That much we can do. And that is actually the best thing to do. People don't realize only. So let us become more serious in these times. Not take it lightly. Don't be too much worried about this or that and who started the coronavirus or who is going to end it, how is going to. Don't bother. Whatever has to happen will happen. Now we have to be worried about how to end our this pandemic of Bhavarog. That we have to worry about. That is a real pandemic, mother of all pandemics. So we have to come out of that. And everybody is infected here. They say, social distancing, this and that. all infected with this rogue, this disease. So where social distance and stay where? So, of course, we have also our social distancing norms. Rupa Goswami has given, stay far away from non-devotees. Asat Sangha Tyaga. That distancing is there. It's like a disease basically. But it's a real disease that we have to be concerned with. Once that disease is cured, then all diseases are already, all concomitant diseases are automatically cured. Like if the root of the disease is cured, the symptoms also will go away. No? So this disease, whether it's COVID or anything, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshana Darshanam, to understand the miseries that this world, life in this world is miserable, that is a sign of knowledge. And one has to know that that is going to be the fact. Therefore, one should not have much hopes in here. And one has to just make this life only meant for spiritual realization. And if circumstances, if the world was all well and good, people have no time. I was thinking even in 2018, 2019, I was thinking, how to even deal with these people? Every time they're just saying no time, and they're just busy and the world is going, and every day millions of animals are being killed. How come the karma is not even coming to them? So heavy karma is being done by everybody. How is it that people are just going freely and it's never ending, and Kali Yuga is going to go for 432,000 years? 5,000 years have passed, and for 432,000 nothing is going to happen to them. And sure enough, in 1 year, everything is upside down. So Krishna always knows how to tell that he is the boss. Try to be the boss here. Yeah. But Krishna always knows how to tell, I am the boss. Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. Smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. This virus is so small. And with that, he has infiltrated everywhere. And huge nations have collapsed under its weight, which is less than a gram. It is calculated that the entire virus All the virus particles put together in the world is not even 2 grams. If you add all the virus together, 2 grams. 1 gram of gold is how much? Like $70, $80, I don't know now the price. So 2 grams worth, how much damage? Trillions of dollars. Much more than this thing in gold. So just imagine. So Krishna can do anything. He doesn't have to come personally. Vinashasha dushkritam, to destroy the demoniac principles. He doesn't have to come personally. He can just send 2 grams, destroy the entire planet. Actually, the planet is not destroyed, honestly. We feel like that, and we are a minority. Humans are a minority on this planet. Vast majority of the planet is having a good time. Having fine time actually. These humans are, in fact, when the lockdown happened here, I don't know, never before seen these animals. What are they? I don't know what are they called even. They were right in front of Mustafa, like 10 of them. There was a photo, news. They never to be seen. They thought like, Arey, now the whole jungle is ours. Everything is a jungle now. They came out and to Mustafa, never seen. What are they? I don't even know what they are called. They are not, what? Ah, yes, otters. Otters. They came and they were right in front of Mustafa and having a nice time, party. So, the humans have already ruined the planet and all the species are suffering because of that. For them it has been a pandemic and the virus is the human. Now the humans got the virus and they are having fun time. That is the difference only. It's just tables are turned only. So, so Krishna knows how to do this. So if we challenge God and if we go on this atheistic, and if he just he just brought some 2 grams into this world of this virus. Imagine if he does something more than that, a little more, 5, or if a little more deadly. Now it is becoming deadly, no? This virus, more deadly. So he can turn up the heat, and if he turns up the heat, it's going to be even worse. So he's just showing that he can do anything. Just when everybody thought, wow, it's subsiding, curve is flattening, returning back to zero, vaccines have come out, okay, start to celebrate. And Krishna will give the next jhatka. Now, that wave was this much, this wave is this much. So, Krishna knows. That's why we should never, whenever we have this atheistic tendency, Krishna knows how to curb that. So we should take these lessons and, take this very seriously. At least us. We don't expect the whole world to change. But if Prabhupada said that 1%, if 1% of the population understands this Krishna consciousness movement, we know that 99% of them won't understand this movement. Because it's not for the fools. It's for the Sumedhasaha. But that 1% is enough to guide the rest of the 199. Leaders are only how many? But the followers are many, right? If the leader becomes, actually when one is Krishna conscious, he is the leader. He may not hold a government post. Even if he is distributing books on the street, he is the leader. Because he is leading others back to Godhead. Others, whatever post they may do, the misleaders. The leader is the one who is leading everybody back to Godhead. Nowadays, the so-called leaders are actually followers of the people. Democracy, what it has done, I have to succumb or I have to appease the population. Oh, I will do this, please vote for me. If the guy is going to come out and say, you vote for me and I will take out meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, 0 votes you will get. Just a few devotees will vote. And that's not going to help anyway. So that kind of vote. So that's why he can't lead the people. He has to mislead the people. Or rather, he is actually being led by the people. Just like the dog, the owner of the dog, he thinks he is the master and the dog is, he's master of the dog. But actually the dog is going and he is running behind the dog. And the dog is passing stool, he is picking up. The dog is not picking up his stool, he is picking up dog's stool. Who is master, who is servant? So people are, so-called leadership today is like that. They have to appease the people what they want. Whereas a real leader, he knows exactly how to make people happy materially and spiritually. What is the meaning of Ramarajyam? The kingdom of Lord Rama. Not even an animal, not even a plant knew what was misery. They did not know what was excessive heat, they did not know what was excessive cold. They only could die when they wanted to. Nobody died untimely. This marks the quality of the leader. If the leader is, not to standard, then all inauspicious things will happen. When the leader is to the standard, people could die only when they wanted to. Otherwise, nobody would even die. That is real leadership. Materially and spiritually, everybody was happy. It's not that only spiritually happy, materially starving. No, you see. This is one, many verses are like this. Kunti Devi here, she is saying, Ime janapadaha svriddhaha supakvaushadhivirudhaha vanadrinadhyudanvanto hi edhante tava vikshitaihi. All these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance. The trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the oceans are full of wealth. And this is all due to your glancing over them. Full with all natural beauty and natural opulence. Even medicine, this is very artificial way of medicine. Modern medicine is, actually it's not a healthy medicine, this thing. Real thing is through the herbs. That has always been that way. So powerful that, we know from Ramayana, right? When Lakshmana was hit by Indrajit's arrow, Sanjeevani was brought by Hanuman. And that herb, in fact, I saw a video which Kerala Ayurvedic, he's an elderly person. He knows, of course, everybody knows Ayurveda, but he's Ayurvedic specialist, and especially those ancient Ayurvedic. And he showed the demonstration of this, I don't know what leaf is that. They make paste of that, and just to show, he said this leaf, if you cut meat and then mix with this, next day morning it will be one piece of meat. You cut meat and then put, it will become one piece. So these were there, and Sanjeevani was something like that, in fact. Remove the poison, everything through herbs. And herbs were always the method of medicine. What is this, taking some fetus from somewhere and they are drawing some cells from there, and that's the way they are doing it now, but honestly that's not a very holistic way of curing anything. Anyway, the real cure is the Harinam, spiritual and material cure. In fact, there is King Kulashekar, you see this verse in Mukundamala Stotra. Idam shariram parinamapeshalam patatyavasyam shatasandhi jarjaram kim aushadham prichhasi mudha durmate niramayam krishna rasayanam piba. This body's beauty is fleeting, and at last the body must succumb to death after its hundreds of joints have stiffened with old age. So why, bewildered fool, are you asking for medication? Just take the Krishna elixir, the one cure that never fails. I may say, Prabhu, my friend, he chanted Hare Krishna, he passed away, what happened? What are you saying? The point is, he passed away chanting Hare Krishna, right? So that is a success. So it is never we will never be a loser by chanting. Whether so-called live or die, will never be a loser. That's why it is said. Whereas If we try all our methods, and then even if we live, of course we should try to, it's not that, oh, let's die and let's go into the virus and die. No, not saying that. The body is actually Krishna's property and it has to be guarded well to be used in Krishna's service. It is not our property, not our body, it is Krishna's body. So it has to be used in his service, and for that reason it has to be kept well. We are not denying that. But at the same time, we should not be overly attached to this body. We should know that it is Krishna's property, not my property. And even if I die, let me die chanting. That is the most glorious death. Parikshit Maharaj was given an ultimatum. You are going to die in 7 days. So what is that? You see how fearless he was. What is the verse number? हाँ 1:19:15. Yeah, this is the one. You see, तमोपयातं प्रतियन्तु विप्रा गंगा च देवी धृतचित्तमीशे द्विजोपसृष्टः कुहकस्तक्षको वा दशत्वलं गायत विष्णुगाथाः. O Brahmanas, just accept me as a completely surrendered soul and let Mother Ganges, the representative of the Lord, also accept me in that way. For I have already taken the lotus feet of the Lord into my heart. Let the snake bird or whatever magical thing the Brahmana created bite me at once. I only desire that you all continue singing the deeds of Lord Vishnu. So, when he was cursed that you will die of a snake bird's bite, he did not look for vaccine or antivenom. No. He went to the Ganga. He said, I have 7 days. You speak to me about Krishna and let me end my life this way. That's it. He could have contracted. He was more powerful than that Brahmana boy. Way more powerful. He was a Vaishnava. Vaishnava is way more powerful than a Brahmana. So he could have easily counter-cursed that boy also. But he never did that. He just took it as Krishna's will and he wanted to die this way. And by doing that, what he did, not only did he purify himself, but today we are able to read Bhagavatam because of his sacrifice. His hearing. This is all auspicious for all time. Whereas, even whatever we may do, everything is temporary. Now that is also being questioned, whether it is effective or not or what. That's why here it is said, बालस्य नेह शरणं पितरौ नरसिंह नार्तस्य चागदमुदन्वन्ति मज्जतो नौः तप्तस्य तत्प्रतिविधिर्य इहाञ्जश्रेष्ठस्तावद्विभोतनुभृतां त्वदुपेक्षितानाम्. My Lord Narsimhadev, O Supreme, because of a bodily conception of life, embodied souls neglected and not cared for by you cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporarily beneficial, are certainly impermanent. For example, a father and mother cannot protect their child, a physician and medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient, and a boat on the ocean cannot protect a drowning man. So these are not guarantees. Yeah, they may be able to save, but maybe there is no availability. Or maybe something may happen. Anything can happen. One can have the best doctor, best medicine, best hospital, whatever, he will still die. Sometimes then nothing, no proper thing is there, he will survive. So that what is being said is, these things are not guarantees. When the Lord wills, they will work. When the Lord wills against them, they will not work. Now the same vaccine, for some people seemingly working, some people not working. Why? This is like that. When the Lord wills, it will work. When the Lord wills, it won't work. We cannot say that this will work that way. No. Nobody can say that. So, the best thing is to take shelter of the Lord. Chant Hare Krishna. So just let us take seriously and try to spread the message. to whoever we can. And try to attend our other classes also. Let's not make it only once a week. Even in the days of the week, we have other sessions on our Facebook live stream going on. Now we have started something on Instagram, that also can be done. And of course, all our library of classes are there on YouTube. Of course, the Prabhupada's books are the ultimate. So be connected with this. Okay? Right, we'll stop here. Any questions or comments?
It mentioned that when a man dies, a man dies after it is decided that what form he will be taking rebirth. And then after some line it is said that if you die by remembering Krishna, then you will go to Krishna. So does it happen all in the fractional movements? However, this seems difficult to understand.
Yeah, so when we surrender to Krishna, Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami, Krishna will immediately rid us of all sins. You see, Ajamil's life is a perfect example of that. Ajamil was a complete nonsense his whole life. And then last one moment he thought of Narayana, and the Yamadutas were perplexed. How you Vishnudutas can say that this Ajamil is not sinful? Vishnudutas said, no, he is not no more sinful anymore. But how you can say whole life he is nonsense? No, by that one name of Narayana, he has contracted everything. You may say, oh, that is cheating. Well, that is how powerful the name of God is. What is, one second, I think it is there in the, what is that? Patakam Patakinara. The future, I think it's 6 to 14, 6 to 7 purport, right? I think it's here. Namno hi yavati shakti. Where is this? From Smriti Shastra. Namno hi yavati shakti papa nirharane hare tavat kartum na shaknoti patakam pataki naraha. Simply by chanting one holy name of Hari, a sinful man can counteract the reactions to more sins than he is able to commit. That is how powerful. No, how can a sinful activity be more powerful than Hari's name? But of course, we have to chant it without offense. He managed to chant it without offense. And that also was not an accident. It looks like an accident. Oh, accidentally he just chanted. No, it was not an accident. Krishna is so kind. He is so kind that because when his younger days, when he was a young boy and young man, he was rigidly following everything. He was a nice devotee. But then he got misled after that. And then he did horrible things. He chased away his wife and parents. He just lived with a prostitute and got 10 children out of her. And in this way he was leading his life. And I don't know actually where the story, who said to him. But the last boy, he named him as Narayan, that we know from the Bhagavatam. But even that was not an accident. There was a sannyasi, I have to verify this, I cannot.
Just visit to their house.
Yes. So the sannyasi actually visited the house, and then the prostitute was the one who opened the door, and she was having just a newborn. Oh, newborn. Then the sage said, you name him Narayan. So Krishna arranged, you see how, because he served Narayan when he was a young boy or young man. Krishna never forgot that. Even though he went into absolute rubbish, Krishna never forgot what he has done and waited for the right time to strike him again in a good way. And the boy was named Narayan, and his affection for the boy increased. And he was calling, hey Narayan, where are you? Narayan, come here. Narayan, have you eaten this and that? Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. And at the last point, helplessly he was just calling out to the boy. And Narayan came. So it was not exactly like, last moment he just accidentally called Narayan. Oh, I will also do that, Prabhu. When death comes, that time, I will chant Narayan. It's not, there was a whole history to that, how it happened. So Krishna carefully planned. That's why you see this beautiful verse is there. Antya. See this one. Bhrityasya pashyati gurunaphi naparadhan sevam managapi kritam bahudabhyupaiti avishkaroti pishuneshvapi nabhyasuyam shilena nirmalamati purushottamoyam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Purushottama, the greatest of all persons, has a pure mind. He is so gentle that even if his servant is implicated in a great offense, he does not take it very seriously. Indeed, if his servant renders some small service, the Lord accepts it as being very great. Even if an envious person blasphemes the Lord never manifests anger against him. Such are his great qualities. So, even when he is fallen down so badly, still he never forgot that service he did. That much this devotional service will help. Even if one falls down hopelessly, the Lord, he may be hopeless, but the Lord never loses hope. Not only never loses, he will give him full hope. He will bring him back. So, I think there is one question there in the Dimitri Prabhu is asking, I have a little victory. Yesterday my mom couldn't help reading 2 pages of Srimad Bhagavatam and she immediately said, I don't agree with this point. In the purport, the point was about that we don't have to waste our energy working in factories. We can't produce any food this way. Of course, we had conversation later, but anyway, Prabhupada's books are captivating. That's the thing, whether you agree or not, you cannot ignore it. When you read Prabhupada's books, either you agree to it or you will strongly disagree, but you will never forget them. And one day that remembrance will bring back. Alright, I think we will stop it here. Thank you very much. Hey, what is this? Oh, there is one question, sorry, one last. Just as Prabhupada was sannyas but crossed the ocean several times for the higher aim of spreading Krishna consciousness, Krishna took a vow of neutrality in the Kurukshetra war but was going to kill Bhishmadev. Can you elaborate also on the difference between following the law and the spirit of the law in that circumstance in the great war? Please forgive if my question is impertinent. No, that is not the law and the spirit of the law. He made a promise, Krishna made a promise that I will not fight in the war, but when that was his own promise. But Bhishmadeva, who was also a devotee of Krishna, his promise was that either Krishna has to fight or Arjuna will be killed by my hands. So, now there was a clash, and Bhishma was always a superior warrior than Arjuna. And now there was a clash between Krishna's own promise, either he doesn't fight and let Arjuna die, or he breaks his promise to keep Bhishmadev's promise and to protect his devotee Arjuna. So, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. My devotee will never be vanquished. He upheld that. He said, Arjuna, you declare, because it is your promise. 931, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Because devotee's promise, he is not confident of keeping his own promise, Krishna. Because if there is this contradiction between his and devotee's promise, he will go for the devotee's promise. So, that's why he said, Shashvat Chantam Nigachati Kaunteya Pratijanehi Name Bhakta Pranashyati. He said, he quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. He asked Arjuna to declare, because if Arjuna says, he has to, uphold that. So, Bhishmadev gave promise, either Arjuna has to die or Krishna has to take up weapons. So, to keep Bhishmadev's promise and Arjuna's and the protection of Arjuna intact, he compromised his own promise. So, it is not a law or spirit of the law, it's a totally different thing. It's about his love for his devotees. What else? I guess. Oh, come here. There's one more question. Since the Varnashram system is compared to parts of Krishna's body, is it impossible to successfully implement the scientific system in this yuga when the world is not Krishna conscious? Well, no, nobody can remove that system, but it is not aimed towards Krishna right now. That classes of people as administrators, businessmen, workers, intellectuals, that can never be taken away from society. But because yes, there is no Krishna consciousness, it cannot be in order, this Varnashram system, because the aim is lost. That is the reason why it is not effective now. But if you see, those classes are always existing: intellectuals, administrators, businessmen, or agriculturists, and ordinary workers. So there's always there. Can never be. Whatever Krishna has created cannot be undone by humans. If they try to interfere with that process, then they will be punished. That's what we are trying to interfere with the process of nature that Krishna has set in motion, and therefore we are being just punished for that. Alright, so I'll stop it here. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.